Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, continuing on with our Survival Series 2. In this episode here, we are actually looking at the possibilities of building, shall we say, some larger scale miners. Now, one of the things that we're kind of trapped in right now is so while I was still working the creative mode, and of course the game is really having issues today. Every day it's Space Engineers, so it will be doing this kind of thing here. I'm guessing pretty much indefinitely. So we have two possibilities here on the table. I have been. Let me back up and kind of go where I was before we froze. Um, I have pretty much emptied out the station. Now, while we were building and everything, I was running, pretty much in creative survival mode. I'll call it that because I was running Space Master and all that, and we basically cut and paste the whole station together here. And in the process of building up um, the various resources and everything, I really more used creative mechanisms than anything else. So the actual collecting of materials and stuff like that really wasn't pure survival. So what I ended up doing was pretty much clearing out all of the materials. I mean, down to everything. The only thing I left was the hand tools. Um, and uranium and ice. That was really all I left. And and the ammo. Left all the ammo there. Um, so basically, we have an armed station here. Now, I have not turned on the mods that add guests into the universe here yet. Mostly because I'm still building the miners here. I really don't want. I'll call them interruptions. There's a lot of things that I want to test to be sure everything behaves as I expect it to. Um, Given the size of this station versus the size of the station back on the planet, I am seeing a bit of lag, and what I don't want to do is to end up in a world where I'm totally lagged out and I can't actually defend myself. That's really the biggest worry, the biggest concern. So as I'm working towards the completion of the miners, then my focus is kind of shifting back towards resource collection, and then the figuring out of how to do that. Now, I've been using, as you saw in the previous videos, I've been using a 49 drill, mostly vanilla miner. And so this particular drill, you can see here, this particular miner is based on the large miner that we built previously um, in one of the videos, and it is a vanilla miner as it stands right now. And one of the things that we've done is actually carried forward this philosophy of spotlights and cameras facing forward so we can actually see what we're doing. Now, one of the issues that is still present, and it is a little bit difficult to deal with, is that the drills do not cover half a block. And what I mean by that is the space around the drills used to be about a block and a quarter. So you could literally paste a camera, a cab, which is to say a cockpit, anything outside the scope of these drills, and it would barely clear. You cannot do that anymore. It's not quite half a block in width around the drills. So the problem For example, right here is with this one drilling just slightly less than half a block, of this one drilling just slightly less than half a block, then we have this camera that's sitting in the middle, and it may or may not have all the material cleared out. And of course the spotlight is the same here. So we may have these little tiny slivers of material left that ultimately ram into the ship and either stop the ship or damage the ship here. So this is kind of one of the problems with this whole philosophy of having gaps, really. While convenient, it's really neat to be able to see what you're doing. Ideally would have been to have one in the very center, and I didn't do that because there's this whole grid of drills terminates in the center. So by removing this drill in the center, then I actually did not have a connection point anymore. I could have moved things, but anyway. So what I did here was set up a projector down here, which is actually what's projecting this image here, and then I gave it an attachment point. All the build and repair systems, so we have a bunch in here, and we actually have a bunch more up here. All of them right now are turned off because one of the interesting things about the build and repair systems is the second you put a projection into the universe, they will start trying to build. So if your projection isn't where it's supposed to be, or it's crisscrossed into something else, the build and repair systems really do not care. They'll start building as is. So you can turn that off. You can turn it off so it doesn't build projections. But in my case, I just turned them off. I worked on getting this set up, which actually is partially a function of this over here. Now, I have to put a bullet out there for people who are not used to using projectors. Projectors are broken, and what I mean by broken is while they function, one of the most convenient ways to use a projector, let me just go ahead, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Turn my HUD back on here, is to actually put the configuration mechanisms for the projector onto a control console of some kind. So in this case, what I've done, let me go ahead and go into G here so you can see what some of these are. So decrease horizontal offset, increase horizontal offset, decrease vertical, increase vertical, blah, blah, blah. Now these work fine. But if I go over here to my second page, I actually have the decrease and increase pitch, yaw, and roll. Now these are what's broken. So you can go directly to the projector and adjust them, but they do not work here. And what happens is if you press 1, so for example, if I press 3, which would decrease the yaw, it would instantly go to negative 180. So while this is supposed to be a stair-step kind of a thing, so it should go to a negative 90, then you press it again, it goes to a negative 180, then you come over here and press 4, and it should go back to a negative 90, and then press it again, it should go to 0, and then press it again, I would go to positive 90, press it again, go to positive 180. It doesn't do that. So you push the button and it will go instantly to a negative 180. If you press 4, it will go instantly to a positive 180. So these are broken. So if you're wanting to adjust using a control console of something, just keep that in mind, that these are broken right now. You have to go directly to the projector. And what I mean by that is you bring up your control panel, hit K, and scroll down here to your projector, and then scroll down. It's inconvenient because you've got the HUD in the way. You can't actually really see very well on what you're doing unless you turn this transparent. But you can drag these sliders to where they need to go. So these are basically the three controls that I put onto the console there, but do not function. So they go instantly to one way, instantly to the extremes on the other. But you can adjust them via these sliders, and they still work fine. So just a word in case you are not familiar with projectors and what they do. So what does a projector do? It takes a blueprint and projects it, right? So as long as it has a connection point onto the existing grid, then it will actually allow you to build. So what we have here, sorry, let me get out of that chair. What we have here is a projection of the blueprint. So this is all the blocks as they are. Now the reality is, if they're so, for example, you see that this reactor is green. Okay, so for a reactor to be green, it would have to have uranium in it. Now, in a building type environment where you're using the projector, it's only building the block. Okay, so your reactors, your containers, your oxygen generators, your gas generators, and your oxygen tanks, hydrogen tanks, all of those are going to be empty when they're actually built. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're in a gravity well. So you build something, you break this piece away, and all of a sudden this thing starts falling out of the sky because it actually does not have any power, any hydrogen, anything else. So definitely you want to be careful as you are building. Just keep those things in mind, that it builds the blocks. It does not build what the blocks may contain. So what is this? How do we work here? Well, I did a video on the projectors. I don't know if I had my audio all working correctly or not, but I might not have, so we may have to step back and redo that one. But projector takes a blueprint, projects the image of the blueprint. Now, before you can actually build from the projection, it has to have a connection point. Unfortunately, it has to be touching a grid, and once it's touching a grid, then it's buildable. So if you see this projection here, we have a bazillion drills out here, 302, 304 drills out here, and you notice that they're all this kind of mostly opaque, and then you have this one that's a little bit more solid than the others. Now I have this stanchion here, this pillar that's touching the bottom of this one, and this pillar is actually what's making this one buildable. This is the only one buildable on the entire grid here that we're adding in. Okay. So the idea is that if you have a buildable block, then you can actually start building. So I could pull out my materials, pull out my my welder, and weld this block. I could not weld this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Any of these. I can't weld any of these because they're not touching the grid. This one actually is touching the grid via this guy. So this one is buildable. So the idea is to pick those out. Now, using the build and repair system, it makes it really, really easy because this block is buildable. Therefore, the build and repair systems will actually come out and help me build. Now, here's the problem. The problem is I do not have a whole lot of resources. And what I've done is I've done a little bit of mining. Let's go ahead and take a look-see at our inventory here. So, well, we have quite a bit of iron, a boatload of iron, in fact. We have a lot of silver, and we have a lot of gravel. So, I may have a loop or something. Or I'm frozen. No, not frozen. So we may have some issues here. In fact, let's go just for here. So what I want to do here is go inside. There's actually a display for Izzy. So I'm running Izzy's inventory manager here. And Izzy is actually responsible for, let me go over here and look. So Izzy is actually responsible for maintaining a certain amount of materials. Now, where Izzy has been able to so because we had a lot of iron, then Issy has been able to actually build a lot of the iron, or the iron-based components. Where the problems have come in is, you can see we have, for example, explosives here. We need 1,000. We have 0 in inventory, so Issy has queued 1,000 of these. Now, anything that's iron-based, it was able to build. So even though I removed everything, anything that was iron-based or based on like silver, and I think I had some silicon in here, then it was able to build those. But everything that is not buildable is just sitting here in the queue. So we're going to have to do some mining to actually get anywhere. Now, if we want to look at things in a little different perspective, so we are missing an awful lot of components. So we have a boatload of silver, and as you saw from the last couple episodes here, we've been doing a lot of mining, and in the process of mining, we found a lot of silver. I had a lot of uranium already. We found a lot of iron, and you can see I've got 82 million ingots of iron here, which is probably more than we could ever possibly use. And gravel. We have a boatload of gravel, but we do actually use some gravel. So the challenges here are metal grid, and the reason why is that metal grid needs, I believe it's nickel. Motors also need some nickel. We have some displays which I think also require silicon. Computers require silicon and gold. We have not found gold. Reactor components are fine. It needed gravel and iron and something else. So I'm actually surprised at that one. Thrusters, I'm surprised at that one. Gravity generators, don't know if we'll need very many of those. Radio comms, about twice as much as we need there. Detectors, not a whole lot. Solar cells, none. Power cells, we're up to snuff. And semiconductors and canvas, we're very low on. So not going to use much canvas. Eventually that will come into play, but at the moment. So we're missing a lot of components here. So the challenge in this case of building, so let me go back outside here. Whoa. Losing control of my all right. So back down. So the challenge here is really about components. I do not have enough components ultimately to build the miner, but ultimately I need components to build the miner. So that means I have to do some mining, and we have been doing some mining. Again, that's where all of this stuff came from. We have various GPS coordinates here. So here we have an iron and a silicon. We have an iron silicon uranium here. We have a cobalt iron platinum. And if we continue looking around, we have, this is the one actually that we've been spending the most time on, which is silver, iron, ice, nickel. Oh, so I did have some nickel there. Uranium. So that's actually why I got to build some of those other things. We have one here with gold, iron, ice, and platinum. So that one may be um, something that we'll need to go out and visit because we don't have any platinum and we don't have any gold. So we're going to need both of those, not necessarily in quantity, but we will definitely need those. Now, one of the other options, I've showed you the great big huge monster miner here. So again, this was based on a slightly smaller miner. I think it was 192 drill miner, modified again with these little gaps here. This is not ideal given the drill width that they built into the game. So this one does have some issues. The other option here is my most favorite miner in the universe, which is the Kenti Micro Miner. And the Kenti Micro Miner is obviously a small ship miner, but it has an overpowered drill. And so absolutely nothing vanilla about this. It has micro refinery, everything that you could possibly want on a miner. This has it. It doesn't have cup holders though, so that kind of sucks. But it has M Master's automatic LCDs running. It has whips, artificial horizon running. It is hydrogen powered, so you can use it in an atmosphere, in a gravity well, just as comfortably as out in space. So it's actually the most versatile miner that I have in my arsenal. It is small, so it's extremely maneuverable. It's using Kenti thrusters, so it is, again, extremely maneuverable. I have the projector here. I didn't actually set it up to do this, but this guy actually is going to be able to compete because of this overpowered drill. The drill, I think, bores about a 20-meter wide hole, if I remember correctly. So it pulls in an obscene amount of material as you're moving around. So I use this for strip mining. That's actually why I put it on the planet's surface. So definitely it can do an awful lot. This one, because it's vanilla, was why I was thinking we'd go ahead and build this one first. Obviously with, how many drills is this? 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 by 19, I guess. I'm not sure why I ended up, well, yeah, I do odd numbers just because of the way, everything kind of fits together. So 19 by 19, we know it's 304 drills. So I can pull out my calculator here. 19 by 19 would be 361, so maybe I have that off. 18 by 18? Yeah, it might actually be 18 by 18. I might be off. No, can't be, because it's an odd number. 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom. Let me try and recount here. 4. Oh, it is. It is an even number. Strangely enough. So it probably is 18. So 324, and then I've got the holes punched for the spotlights and the cameras is really what's forward there. So 304 drills by the count to really pull in obviously a lot of ore at a time. Now, one of the things this does not have is the idler thrusters, I'll call them. So it doesn't have the thruster that would allow this thing to move forward slowly, and we can add that in, certainly. Then it has these side directionals, and of course this whole thing is hydrogen. So we have a bunch of containers here. We have a top and a bottom connector here to hook up and transmit or to move our cargo. We have 4 hydrogen tanks here to make everything work. And then we have our oxygen generation or our hydrogen generation systems in here. So we have, I think it's 6 gas generators and 2 oxygen tanks, and then more containers. So this does really very well. My intention will be, once this is built, to actually add on the cargo teleporter system. And the reason I do that is because I want to do the same thing. This is a huge miner. I could be anywhere in the universe. So I should probably be a little more conservative. Anywhere in the solar system. And I want to be able to transmit. I want to be able to get that cargo back to the station where it's usable without having to stop everything I'm doing every 20 minutes and go back and unload. So I'm cheating a little bit by using the cargo teleporter system. But if you consider a drill array of this size, even with those probably 8 or 9 large containers there, we're going to fill this up in minutes because it's just taking in so much material. So that's the idea there. So we're going to build ultimately both of these miners. I really this one may let us build a little sooner. Which is really to say, hello, come on. Alright, and I can't build because I don't have any steel plates. So let me grab a little couple steel plates here. Paste this on the front, and what this is going to allow me to do, as you can see here, we just had these blocks change temper a little bit. So now the hydrogen tank is what this is back here. Is now buildable. That was the whole idea there. So anyway, both of these now connected onto the station. So the only thing that is left to do in this case is, let me get in here. We're going to go ahead and go back to toolbar 1. The projector on in this case, and then we're going to grab groups, which is actually the BRS scaffold, which is toggle on and off, and this guy, which is toggle on and off, which are 2 different groups. This is the hanger group here, as you can see, the hanger array, and we're just going to turn both of those on and on. And then we're going to go ahead and get out of the seat and actually kind of watch some of this happen. Or I thought we were going to watch stuff happen. So let me pull out my welder and actually see. Interesting So for some reason it took a little while to do what it was doing. This one's going pretty quickly, and that's actually to be expected because these are all, you know, small ship components. Now, some of these are Kenti blocks, so they actually do require quite a bit of material to complete. But obviously, two of the things that we're going to need that is absolutely critical here is ice and uranium. So, I suppose I could go right down here and pull in some ice and uranium. So inventory. So we have, let me go ahead and put these back over here. And I'm just going to pull in all the uranium that I can handle. These may or may not, you know, be able to I don't know if I'll be able to reach through here and touch this thing or not. Maybe not. Nope. So my other concern was whether this was all going to be within the scope here, and it looks like most of it is, which is good. So one of the neat things about the build and repair systems that, at least that I've found to be very useful. Now to get into here, we actually have to go to it. So let's go ahead and roll down here. I've turned off the hidden functions. So let's go down here to one of the build and repair systems, and of course we have to. These are probably the batteries that are, because these are unnamed. They're probably the ones out there on the. So here's what it says we need. We need displays. We need computers, and this is just you go to that. Okay, so this is likely, even though it's not named. It is likely one that is over in the hangar bay, so it's actually out of range from where we are. But so we need display, we need computers, we need motors, we need bulletproof glass, and we need metal grid. So we're actually missing an awful lot of materials, and so to progress, we're actually going to ultimately need to get the materials. Now we just jumped up a lot. So superconductors, which is probably the superconductors are something that is in the Kenti miner. I would put money on it. So that's one of the challenges. So the question here is how do we get the materials that we need? So let's go ahead and put this back away because I'm going to have to go drilling, I know. So we need magnesium. according to this, we need platinum. We need, well, gravel we do not need. We have gravel. Gold. Okay, so gold, platinum. We've got two choices. We conveniently have this asteroid right out here that has everything, or we go and discover. So in the interim here, I think I'm going to just bore a hole into this guy. And so what I need to do is get over to my drill. Now, this is going to seem a little bit strange. Fine. But what I'm going to do is right-click my way all the way through this asteroid, or at least to the center of this asteroid. So the reason I'm doing this is because I just want to create a hole and be able to see ultimately where everything is. So I'm going to try and build a reasonably straight tunnel here. I don't know if that's entirely possible. So here we're into iron. The idea is to get all the way to the center. I think this is ice now. I'm not sure what's going on there. Looks like uranium. This is silver. This should be nickel. Then magnesium. This bluish is silicon, maybe. So we should be coming up on some gold here. Well, this might be silver, so maybe that silverish one before was actually silicon. So this is silver. Then obviously we're into gold here, and then we should hit platinum towards the center, and once I hit platinum I know I'm actually in the center, so this should be the platinum here. Alright, so the idea here is, wow, that's a straight tunnel. The idea here is I really wanted to obtain a bit of material, but the drilling of the hole, it seems like a waste, and in fact it is, but ultimately by drilling this hole I can actually see the materials and then go to the material that I want and bring it back. So that was you know, kind of where some of that madness really comes in. So not hurting for, what is this? It's coming up on the screen so quickly I can't actually see what it says. So this should be uranium, blackish. there's this bizarre gap in here that was between the uranium and the ice. So really I don't need either uranium or ice, or iron for that matter. So we're not quite full up, so let's go ahead and take more nickel. Magnesium we really don't need. This is magnesium here. This is silver, which I don't need any of either. So a lot of gold here that we could use. And platinum. So I think what we'll do is just fill up on platinum all the way to the edge. And of course we're going to get some gold here too, just because of where I am. I'm clearly not in the middle. I'm in the transitory states here. So by filling up at least this initial load, then I will give the refineries something to do, as well as give me the materials that the assemblers actually need to do a few things. Ah, the joys of hand mining. Almost full. Get a little bit of gold just so. Okay, there we go. Alright, I am probably about as full as I can be. Put my drill away. And then roll on out of here. Made quite a bit of progress on the way there. Alright, so we're going to go over here. We're actually going to put this into the pull-in area. And the reason I want to put this in the pull-in area is just to watch everything happen. There we go. So we actually have a lot of stuff being pulled in, a broad variety of most everything. So if all goes well, we will actually have the, at least I'm hoping that go ahead and see what the production systems do. So those should be refineries. He actually likes to turn these things off. I'm going to turn those off, but the systems on, and those are on. Cooperative. Alright, so the refineries should have already taken everything in, and then as ISI builds up an inventory, then we should start seeing some other things happen. So we see a complete depletion here of everything. But the good news is we have all these different ores, so I'm missing cobalt, which is going to be an issue. So cobalt is our next chore here. So we have platinum, we have gold, so hopefully the refineries will be able to do something. I don't see any activity on the refineries at all. So let's go ahead and connect into our system. We'll do some inventory management here. So none of our refineries doing anything. So for some reason, we our refineries are not working automatically. There's gravel and then uranium. All right, so unfortunately having to run through those manually, not a big deal. So now we should have, we have a little bit of, oh, in fact, we have a little bit of everything now. So we have enough that these guys can start up and start manufacturing again, which we can see is actually happening. Taking a little while. We see a lot more activity happening over here. We have the vast majority of the vessel is now built, which is always a good thing to see. So one of the things that I am going to build just by virtue of it's gonna happen. So I want to build two things that I need to build here, and we have a cargo block and a small block, and we go into paycast here and my cargo teleporter. So here's what we are going to do. So it's completely unnecessary. But I'm going to build. I need interior plate. Of course I do. Those and don't have enough of those. Alright, well this may be a little bit of a challenge to pull this off because it's taking all of them. So 3, 4, back to this, and so I want the elbow here. There is going to be 8. I want a small container here. So this is just a vanilla small container, which we'll paste right there, and then we will paste this guy here, which is the actual cargo teleporter. So when those are built, they're going to use the antenna here on this system to actually transmit back. So we always build these things in pairs. There has to be a container that is a specialized container, which is really to say a specialized name. The container itself can be anything, which is to say any container that you want to use. And then you name it to something that you know what the name is. I use conventions that I've already established, and then your teleporter here. So I, yes, just made this non-vanilla, but so be it. So this is definitely going to take a little while to build, and we want to monitor our progress here by way of what materials do we need. So I still have quite a few. I am running low, really low in fact, on cobalt. I don't need any magnesium because magnesium is really only used for weapons. So cobalt and silicon really are my two that I would do well. Cobalt and silicon. Let me go ahead and look at nickel while I'm there. Nickel 15. Yeah, so I guess I really need both nickel. Platinum and gold are fine for now. So maybe silicon is what I should really focus on for right now. So let's go ahead and go back over here to our asteroid. I punched a hole. Should be pretty obvious. Yep. Getting really laggy again with all the BRS systems going. So we have uranium and we have silicon. So I presume silicon is going to be, yeah. Of course, let me inventory to make sure I'm actually, yes, picking up silicon. So we'll get a full load of silicon here, because that is really what we need kind of the most right now. We were down to that 5.5, which is not very much, so we'll just fill up our full inventory here. Just a little... little bit of reserve. And when we get the big miner, then we could actually, well, either of the miners, we could actually do quite a bit of damage to this big asteroid here. Getting close. There we go. All right. So put my drill away. On getting out. This side again because the refineries are actually on this side of a sorter. So inventory, I'm actually going to pull up the refineries directly and then start moving stuff into those. Wow. And strangely enough, silicon is a 1-to-1. Alright, let's see how we are in resources. We are now, well, it says we're out of silicon. There we go. 53, so really nickel and cobalt are the next two. Magnesium I'm not going to worry about yet. Gold and platinum again. There's not a whole lot of things that work with that, so we can make up for that later. So we still do have a pretty decent amount of both nickel and cobalt. So hopefully, as everything goes here, no, I suppose while I'm down here, I might as well go ahead and, yeah, this is taking shape. Oh, that's actually completed. Strange how a tiny little miner takes the nearly the same resources as a great big huge monster miner. But that was part of, and it's not to the extreme, but it's part of what I intended with the Kenti blocks, because even though they're very overpowered, I really wanted them to be balanced from the perspective of, yeah, you can build this, but it's gonna cost you. So that's really one of the things that I had in mind. All right, so how are we doing on? So we are definitely needing motors. Displays, it's showing up as none. Gravity generator, power cells, out of power cells. So some of the things that we can do is actually look and see what we are missing. So K to bring up our control panel here, production, we can actually see what this guy is doing. So in this case we have everything we need. We have nickel, we have silicon, and we have iron. So those are going, and everything, so sickle, sickle. That's a mix of silicon and nickel. Silicon, nickel, and iron. So we're actually able to create all these, and then it's going to go back to making plates. So very slowly we're queuing pretty much everything we need, which is always a good thing. I know we can't possibly run out of iron again. Displays. So in this case, the displays need silicon and iron. And I know we have plenty of silicon because we just got a bunch. And this is assembler 2, so we may have, something completely different in assembler 1. Of course, it's queued up a whole bunch of motors. So again, nickel, cobalt, and iron for motors. Oh, there's a bunch. So Issy as a manager is actually pretty good about keeping everything going. And the only places I've really had problems with Issy is not sorter aware. So Issy will actually try to move things backwards through sorters and of course fail, because that's the nature of a sorter. So we have a bunch of computers. Those are being just taken, almost immediately when they go. Cobalt and gold. So we've started again. Needed a tiny bit of platinum for something there. Strangely enough, sometimes these just completely blank out, and I don't know if that's because Issy has removed everything, which Issy does. Sometimes when you're trying to queue stuff that you need, Issy will actually delete what you put in there, which is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. Alright, so slowly we are making some headway. We're still definitely needing a whole lot of motors. But you can see we are indeed making some headway here. could do here actually is let me pull out my motors. Motor. So I can do a little bit of helping here. Displays. Motors. So running motors. So comparative to, yeah, we're just missing motors. I just need motors. Lots and lots of motors and displays. So comparatively, if we look at what a small ship, small reactor needs versus this, 200 and hundreds all the way down the board here, you'll see these are a lot more pricey. So the requirements for these guys is quite a bit, and I did that on purpose. In fact, I could not make them as expensive as I wanted to. I actually edited a lot of things, and it crashed. I crashed it. I crashed the game. Crashed the game by way of, oh, I'm out of cobalt. Okay, time to go get some cobalt. Oh, I ram into the side of the asteroid here. Okay, 8 and 9, and then I have to find the cobalt. So uranium, we know this was silicon. Quite a bit of silicon out. We know this is nickel. This is... what is this? I think this is magnesium. Yeah, magnesium. So this really should be cobalt. Make sure. Silicon, which I picked up, and this is cobalt. Yeah, so cobalt. Oops, don't want magnesium there. I want just cobalt. So one of the mods that I do have running here is called automatic ore pickup, and what it does is the large drills, the shipboard drills, actually pick up they actually pick up all of the materials that are floating around you. The hand drill does not do that. So automatic ore pickup actually makes it do that. Alright. Zoom. connector here. We'll do an inventory on, and then we will actually go right to the refineries. So unfortunately got a little tiny bit of silver, a little bit of that, and 151, and a little bit of magnesium. So that won't hurt anything. So we have a bunch of parts and stuff here that we really do not need to keep. Detectors, 10. Okay, so the Kenti miner here looks like the only thing not completed are these three here. Oh, and the programmable blocks. Displays. That's 100. Yeah, so probably just displays at this point. Yeah, displays and motors. And of course we got a bunch of stuff on this side. Mostly revolving around motors. Motors, 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 motors. And all these are motors. Alright. But we are making progress. Amazing progress. This guy is... wow. A lot of drills left, of course. Let's see, what are some of the things? My guess? Motors. Hey, motors. How about that? Motor, 0. Oh wow, nickel. I ran out of nickel, so I need back to work. This time we need nickel. Which is this funky yellow. Getting close. Alright, I think we're gonna stop right there. Oh! We'll take off this knife edge there. I'm full. Oop. Going the wrong way. Inventory, refinery, and we'll dump these right into the refinery. Got a little bit of silicon there, and then a bunch of nickel. Not a whole lot of nickel, but nickel. On that note, I think because I'm over in time again, we will leave it with that. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.